is the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show, sponsored by your North Texas Chevy dealers. Together, let's drive.
And welcome to the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. Joe Trahan, along with the multi-talented Andrew Cely. And boy, do we have a lot to get to tonight. Your Dallas Cowboys did what they do. They raised your expectations in that season-opening win, and then they cut your legs out. Wow, that was ugly. 44-19, the Saints come in here and absolutely dominate this Cowboys defense, and they win a big one. And that was hard to watch, but we've got plenty to cover, plenty to talk about. How do the Cowboys deal with it? How do they get through it? How do they get ready for next week? Because Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry are coming in here with the Ravens. Should be a lot of fun. What's up?
Well, let's get right into it with what's on the show.
Here's What's on the Show, sponsored by NFM.
We've spent the last couple weeks talking about how the Cowboys are all in. They're all in trouble, getting blown out by the Saints in a game that looked all too familiar to last year against the Packers. We'll break it all down. And then it's time to go no fence riding again on some hot-button topics on the week that was, including Tua's concussion and Arch Manning's start for UT. That's what's on the show, Joe. Now who's on the show?
Listen, we got a great panel lined up for you tonight. A couple of familiar names, a couple of heavyweights when it comes to knowing what's going on the sports scene here in North Texas. From the ticket, we've got Sports Sturm himself, Bob Sturm. Thank you so much for being on the show. We've also got the great, the indomitable, I came up with that one for you, Engel, the indomitable Mac Engel. He's got more opinions than you have anything in your life, and that's good for this show because we're going to have a lot of fun trying to, walk through what was an awful day for Cowboys fans. And let's start right there. And Mac, since I gave you that great intro, I'll start with you, bud. What bothered you most about that horrible afternoon at AT&T Stadium?
I think what bothered me the most is that this was the game we expected last week in Cleveland, because what happened today is what happened in their season-ending loss last season to the Packers in the playoffs. And I asked Dak Prescott, people are going to draw conclusions that this is the same thing that happened against Green Bay. And Dak adamantly said, no, you're wrong. You're wrong going down that road, basically. These are two different, basically, games. Well, they're not. It's the exact same thing. The Saints got out ahead early. They spread them out. They ran all over them, and Dallas could not stop them at all. The difference is, I don't really think anybody expected the Saints to be that good, whereas at least last season you would say, well, Green Bay was a playoff game. So this was so dispiriting because it comes on the heels of last week's performance in Cleveland that was really pretty impressive. And this was 180 degrees opposite and utterly depressing.
Yeah, definitely not good, Bob. What'd you think, Sturm?
No, I think Mac's on to a lot of things there. I would take it a step further. It's not just the Green Bay game for me. It's the Shanahan tree. If you just kind of look at the Kyle Shanahan teams, for sure we know the 49ers and what they did. But then Mike McDaniel in Miami, Matt LaFleur in Green Bay, certainly Clint Kubiak here with the Saints. They all are kind of running the exact same system. Bobby Slowick down in Houston. They're all employing the exact same thing, which is a lot of pre-snap, shifting and motions, and then using the run game, using your eyes against you with different pre-snap and post-snap tactics, and then the play action behind it and the ability to really just give you fits and to stretch you all over the field. So what I see today and last week was amazing and perhaps allowed guys like me to maybe jump the gun a little bit, like, okay, this might be a better team. What we saw today was identical to the problems of 2023.
And that's
that's sad.
That's the interesting thing for me, right? Because, last week we were absolutely lauding Mike Zimmer because, listen, he completely won the battle of wits in terms of coordinators. And then this week it looked like, he was in his first year as a coordinator because it wasn't just an effort issue. They were completely out-schemed. When you think about the screen pass touchdown that Alvin Kamara had, that was perfect scheming. They knew exactly what they were doing. All he had to do was run the green grass. That's almost scary when you think about they had to know what this type of offense likes to do, and they still just looked really ill-prepared back.
Yeah, and I think this comes down to somewhat, it's not Zimmer's fault necessarily. This is a personnel issue. I mean, look at their interior players. That's still an issue. Their linebackers are still an issue. DeMarvion Overshawn played such a great game in Cleveland last week. Well, today he looked like a rookie because that's basically what he is. Eric Kendricks looked really good last week in Cleveland. Didn't look so good today. Micah Parsons, I don't know where he was. And this is a couple days, I'm going to name drop on you. I talked to DeMarcus Ware, and DeMarcus Ware basically said, when this team wins, it's because of Micah Parsons. And they didn't win. They played so badly today. And this comes down to somewhat front seven issues. They couldn't get up the field. They got spread out all over the place. And their tackles are just guys. And, you know, Mozzie Smith hasn't really developed. And I don't know how Zimmer is supposed to fix all of that in an offseason when this is what they've given you. And really, I'm not sure it's that much better than it was last season when, as Bob said, those were all the problems that we saw illustrated in those Cowboys losses.
Now, Bob, and I do have this question for you because I think, you know, we've been talking about this entire offseason. The Cowboys refuse to do much of anything in free agency. Right. Are they paying the piper right away for that when it comes to the interior of that defensive line?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you know, not to completely differ about this, but I thought most of the damage today, aside from that middle screen to Kamara, which was a huge play, but most of it to me were to the edges. And I think part of that is you do run at Micah Parsons. Like, what's the best way to slow down the best pass rush in the league? You don't let them rush the passer. Rushing the passer is a privilege, many defensive line coaches will say. You take away the run, you put them in third and long, and then we're going to get after the quarterback. But if you can't stop the run, especially when they're running right at you, kind of challenging your size and your ability to shed a block. And I'm not going to necessarily say this is on Micah Parsons in particular, but they're attacking your corners, they're attacking your linebackers, and they're attacking your edges to see, are you more physical a defense than you were last year? And you know, back to the Eric Kendricks point, I thought he was really good in Cleveland, but I also know for a fact that many people around the league kind of thought he was cooked. And the fact that the Cowboys brought him in was partly because he wasn't asking for much money. And it was a very minimal signing. And so was Linval Joseph. And so was, Jordan Phillips. And these are the types of guys you can get when you do your shopping either at the league minimum level or you wait till August to help your defense. So yeah, I think to begin with, a lot of this inactivity in the offseason is still a real issue. And obviously losing Trahan Bland was not something you knew, but it sure looked like the Saints today were going to say, let's see if Kalen Carson likes to play run defense. Let's send some plays right at him. So I do think there's a lot going on here that, you know, the distinguishing differences between last week and this week is the Browns don't really try to deceive you too much. They kind of play a pretty basic offense, and they had a quarterback who was really a mess, as we all know. Today, Derek Carr was not going to hold the ball. He was going to get it out quick, and they were going to try to spin you make your head spin with shifts and motions and so forth to get you off balance. I thought they did a great job tactically, and the Cowboys never had an answer, and that's discouraging.
No doubt about that. I mean, you're right. Listen, it felt like the Saints had that Cowboys defense in the blender, and they just kept pressing pulse. It just kept going around. All right, listen, we got plenty more to talk about. Andrew's got more. We're going to have some fun later in the show as well. But stick with us. We got to take a quick timeout, but we got plenty more coming your way. Stay with us, folks. It is the ultimate Dallas Sports Show.
Welcome back to the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. We did a lot of ragging on the defense in the first block of this, so I want to get to the offense on this because there was a lot made in the offseason of Dak and CD getting re-signed, and they did amount to at least a spectacular touchdown. But if one touchdown is all you're getting from this crew and the rest are field goals, is that really the money that you're owed?
Listen, it was interesting, right? Because Dak Prescott said the throw that bothered him most was his second interception today. I would counter with the throw that bothered me the most was early in the second quarter when he had CeeDee Lamb wide open on what looked like a skiddy post. He overthrew him. Dak said there's a miscommunication between him and CeeDee Lamb. Perhaps Dak was thinking he was going to go down the seam, and he was throwing it down the seam. I'm curious, and I'll start with you, Bob. What do you think about the play? And should we still be giving these guys grace in their second year of this offense under Mike McCarthy, and they've been with each other so long now? Do they deserve grace because it's early in the season or not?
Well, no. I mean, I don't think at this point of their time together, you say it's early in the season. I think they worked together in the off season while they were trying to get the contract worked out. And honestly, I think for the most part, Dak and CD have really advanced their relationship. Now, the first interception, I was that the one with Jalen Brooks?
Jalen Brooks fell. Yeah, that was not on Dak at all. That was Jalen Brooks. He just slipped coming out of the break.
Yeah, and then the second
one was Tyrann Mathieu, who was
throwing it into double.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and that's now I certainly get accused from time to time of being a Dak Prescott apologist, and I don't think I am, but I will say that's a quarterback down 22 just forcing the ball and making a horrible decision, and the remedy for that is don't be down 22 points usually. But it's because it's hard because you're supposed to be taking what they give you. So no, there's no excuses at this level of income. They've put too much into them. They have to be stars every game, and I think they would tell you they have to be stars every game. So the performance against Green Bay, and to an extent the performance today, no, that doesn't make the grade at all, and I think they would both say that.
Mac, what's your take?
I think we have to go on what the tape says and what the resume says, which is both of these guys are really, really good. They're both two of the best at their respective positions. That's a play they've got to make, and that's a play they have made time and again in their career. I totally agree with Bob. When you get down 20 points, you're having to try to make plays because your defense can't stop anybody. And quite frankly, we've seen over his career, Dak Prescott is not a quarterback who's probably going to be good from coming down 20 points. There are not many guys in the history of the league are. Peyton Manning's one. Tom Brady never fell behind 20. But now you're looking at a really small select company of Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. That's about it. Dak's not in that conversation. And I do think we as fans, observers have to say, okay, just because they gave this guy a whole bunch of money, well, that doesn't mean they're going to be something that they haven't been in the past. It was their time, their turn to get their contracts, and the Cowboys did what they had to do in order to keep them here. That's it. Expecting them to be more than what they've been just because their salary is at the very top, well, that's a you problem. We have to go and expecting what have they done before in the past. And what they've done before in the past is make plays like that. And you've got to make a play like that. And I go back to the playoff game against Green Bay. There's a play in the first half where Dak missed CD when they were chasing the game, and you could see it was getting to Dak. Now, the circumstances then are not like they were today. That's a playoff game, and this is week 2 of the regular season. It's not about giving grace or anything like that, but it is the first month of the regular season, and the first month is always a bit of a wreck because it's essentially the preseason for these guys. But the bottom line is they've got to make that play. If the Cowboys are going to win and be expected to win against teams, I'm sorry, the Saints just aren't that great. So if they're going to be expected to win, they're your 2 best offensive players, and they can't miss.
No, I agree. And I feel like because of the way this roster is constructed right now, with the fact that you have next to no threat coming out of the running back room, it almost feels like Dak and CD have to be perfect in a lot of ways for this offense to be able to function well enough with the way the defense is constructed. And listen, I told everyone at the beginning of this season it was going to be a wild ride. I didn't know it would get this wild this soon, but we are here already. Adversity, thy name is the Cowboys, and here we go. It's what we do with this team. So let's buckle up and get ready for it.